afternoon. Welcome to your Tuesday editorial analysis. My name is Savitri Krishnamurty. I teach English and Logic. Those of you who've been following my classes, you know that this is an editorial analysis from a linguistic point of view. We look at what an editor meant, what is his main point, what can be inferred, what cannot be inferred. Then we look at some related grammar and vocabulary questions. All right, so I hope you can see me and hear me clearly. Give me a thumbs up if you can, and we'll start the session. As usual, I'm going to give you about 40 seconds, 40 to 45 seconds per slide. It's a short editorial. I picked up an editorial from the Hindu. I do most of the time. Sometimes I used editorials from the Indian Express, and a couple of times we have used articles from Aeon and New York Times. The problem with the articles and the editorials of New York Times is that they are very long. And so when students have to read more than 3 or 4 slides, I find that their accuracy is going down. So I have chosen this article because of its brevity. All right, shall we start? Okay, let's start. 40 seconds, read the uh, paragraph, and then I'll summarize it with you. All right. So if you remember, a couple of months back, we had done an editorial on India abstaining from voting, and the editor saying that India should have been clear that it does not uh, support Hamas in attacking Israel. At the same time, it thinks that Israel's retaliation is harming the wrong people. This time, the author says that after Israel's bombardment of Gaza residents in retaliation of the October 7th terror attacks by Hamas, India has finally joined by voting in favor of the global call to stop the bombing, asking Israel to stop the bombing of Gaza. The resolution demanded an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, unconditional release of all hostages, as well as humanitarian access. The author says that India's vote shows a shift from its previous vote, and the government and the MEA have not really explained very well why they have changed. But the author says, let us look at what has happened, that there is no mention of the terror attacks, although the government has yet to detail the rationale, although it has to give its reasons in detail. There are several reasons, and he says that casualty figure, the number of people who are dead or injured, have increased. 18,000 dead and nearly 90 journalists dead. Now, that's another important point. Keep in mind. Let's look at the next slide. All right. What does it say in the second slide? That what has happened is 80% of the population in Gaza is homeless. Even the United States, which is Israel's biggest ally, has given numbers that nearly 29,000 air to ground missiles that have been sent by Israel's are indiscriminate missiles. I mean, they are targeted anywhere and everywhere. That's the first reason. Second, Israel's defense forces have gone beyond their original mandate. What was their original mandate? Eliminate Hamas's capacity and free the hostages. And from there, they've gone to large scale flattening of Gaza. They just said indiscriminately, not just Hamas, they've just gone around doing large scale damage to the entire Gaza and forced occupation of more territory. More than 100 Israeli hostages still remain in Hamas custody. But still, the defense forces have gone beyond what was their original mandate, that we'll get these hostages back and we'll eliminate Hamas's capacity so that it is not going to be in a position to attack us again. But what have they done instead? They've just flattened the Gaza territory through bombardment, and they have forcibly occupied more territory. In the process, they haven't managed to free all their hostages. Third reason, global opinion, including Indian public opinion, has moved from sympathy for Israel to horror at the unfold. So initially, when the terror attack happened, there was a lot of sympathy for Israel because of the horrible terrorist attack on Israel. They they took hostages, they took children hostages, grandparents hostages, so all that was horrible. But now, because of Israel's retaliation and the kind of massive retaliation it is taking, that Israel has taken recourse to, a lot of common people in Gaza have been hurt and people have been horrified by Israel's brutality. And therefore, India found that public opinion has changed from sympathy to Israel towards sympathy to the residents of Gaza, and even Indian public opinion has turned against Israel. Okay, and New Delhi could not have been immune to entreaties by Palestine and Gulf states to take a relook at its vote. So Gulf states and the Palestine authorities have asked India, like, why don't you look at your vote? Why are you abstaining? See what's happening. In all this, India was isolated when it voted, when it abstained from voting for a resolution asking Israel to stop bombardment. This is the first time India was isolated. Why? Because most South Asian countries and the global South had voted in favor of the resolution. So India was the only country which was isolated because it had gone against and abstained from voting. Now, the author says it may be too early to say that India's United Nations General Assembly vote is a reversal of its earlier position. We probably shouldn't say that, or a reversion to its original position in the conflict, where it has traditionally called for peace. All right, let's now look at the last slide quickly. 30 seconds for this. All right, now what is the author saying? If I ask you to conclude, give me a conclusion of the last paragraph, what will you say? What are the main points of the last paragraph? Quickly type it in for me. Much will depend on the role India chooses for itself in ensuring the ceasefire is effected and holds. Given that Israel has already rejected the UNGA resolution, from this, what can we conclude? That it's up to India. India has a role. India is capable of having a role of ensuring that the ceasefire takes place. All right. Second, we can conclude that Israel has not accepted the resolution. It's not going to abide by the resolution. Next, having proven its credentials, I'm coming to that, as a friend to Israel. So India has proved that it's Israel's friend. Following the terror attacks, the world was condemning Israel, but India stood by Israel, right? As well as the odium. Odium means the disgrace of enabling civilian deaths. I mean, what happened when you did not speak out? It is seen as supporting. India did not speak out against Israel's retaliation. So, in effect, you can say that it can be interpreted that India enabled civilian deaths. So the author's suggestion is that the Modi government must be more vocal, it must be open, it must be more assertive in helping Netanyahu government out of the strategic cul-de-sac it has bombarded its way into. Israel has put itself in a situation where it is finding that it is not able to get out. That's what it is. I have asked a question on cul-de-sac. It's like a situation from which is very difficult to get out. Okay, a deadlock, a gridlock, a dead end, no way out. A street which has only a one-way entry, that's called, where you reach a dead end, there is no way out from the street, you enter and exit the same way, is called a cul-de-sac. So it says that Israel has taken a policy whereby it's going on attacking, and the government of Israel has put itself into a strategy of only attack. So now it's almost trapped into this strategy, and India has to help it get out of its way, so that an Israel strategy, another point you can conclude is Israel's strategy is only going to result in regional instability and insecurity for decades. You can't go around bombing. You can't go around saying, I don't care if I kill a lot of civilians in my quest to obliterate Hamas. You can't say that, because in the process, maybe one terrorist, one member of Hamas gets killed, but there are 15, 20, 100 civilians getting killed. You can't say that. It's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And you cannot allow any nation to act like that. This was the conclusion of the earlier editorial, if you remember. First question. So that was the last paragraph. So in a cat or zat situation, there would be lot of inference and conclusion questions based on the last paragraph. So remember the first and last paragraph. Here the last paragraph has at least 4 points or 5 points, from which you can be asked assumption questions, inference questions, conclusion questions. One is that the author believes that India has a crucial role. Second, that Israel is trapped in its own strategy, and India can help it get out of that. So India, in a way, the author is implying that India can help Israel get out of this mess, because this mess will only cause regional instability and insecurity, which is not good for any country. Question 1. Which one sums up the author's primary argument in the passage? Think of the entire passage and give me the answer. Is it A, there has been a principled shift in India's stand on Gaza? B, India must take a more assertive position on Gaza with Israel? C, India's decision to abstain from voting for a resolution was a mistake? Or D, India's UNGA vote, United Nations General Assembly vote, was not a reversal of its earlier position? Maybe all or most of the questions are correct, but fine, most of the options have been given in the passage. But which statement sums up the author's main argument best? Let me see your answer. Is it A, B, C, or D? Is it A, that there's a shift in India's strategy or stand position? B, that India must take a more assertive position. What's the right answer? A, B, C, or D? Let me quickly see your answers. So he starts by saying that India changed its stand from its earlier stand. So in the earlier stand, it had abstained from voting against Israel, but this time it joined the resolution in asking Israel for an immediate ceasefire. Correct. Then the author says, why did India change its stand? There are many reasons. One is the number of casualties. Second is India was isolated. The public opinion has gone against Israel. And Israel has gone beyond its original objective of just eliminating Hamas and getting its hostages back. It seems to have changed that from uh, that to just raising Gaza, right? And then the author says, but we shouldn't think that India has, changed, that there's more to it. But India must use its position and its influence as a friend of Israel to make sure that the ceasefire is effected. So India's decision to abstain was, it did not say it was a mistake. It just said this was a change. Got it, Sonali? He just says this is a change. Why did India change? He hasn't gone ahead and said it was a mistake. He said, whatever the reason, India has changed its position. What are the reasons for its changing? We can't really say that it has reversed its decision. We can't say it has reversed. Fourth, it says, whatever be, India must use its influence as a friend of Israel to make sure that Israel follows the ceasefire, Israel gets out of its wrong strategy, and which will only result in regional instability. So, what's the answer? This is also one of the points mentioned, but this is not the main point. Okay, Priyanshi, there has been a shift. What are the reasons for the shift? Whatever the reasons for the shift, we can't say there's been a real shift. Maybe these reasons are what forced India to vote. We can't say it has reversed its position. That's what he says in the middle. He says, but whatever it is, India must now use its influence with Israel. That's what it says in the last paragraph. So the correct answer is B, not A. A is a point. He starts the passage by talking about A. India has changed. There's been a shift on principle. Why? Number of deaths, India's isolation, rest of the world, public opinion changing against Israel, and Israel going beyond its objective and raising Gaza without caring for the humanitarian losses. So, all these reasons. Third, it says it's too early to say that India has reversed its position. It's too early to say that. But whatever be the reason, India must now make sure that that Israel must stick to the ceasefire, must do this, right? Okay. I tried to make it a little that level. The moment I make it slightly tricky, you're getting it wrong. You shouldn't get it wrong. All right. What can you conclude from these lines in the passage? It may be too early to see India's UNGA vote as a reversal of its earlier position and a reversion to its earlier position in the conflict, where it has traditionally called for peace. Right? So, what does it mean? Okay, what can you conclude? Remember, a conclusion is based on what has been said. Read the sentences 2 3 times, simplify it in your own words. Exactly what is it saying? Too early to see it's a reversal. That means what's he implying? All right. Second, it has traditionally called for peace. What does that mean? Based on that, you look at which option is correct. India reversed its vote and its earlier position on Gaza. India has originally called for peace instead of voting against Israel. One cannot be certain about what India's UNGA vote actually means in terms of its stand on Gaza, or A, B, or C, or all of the above. Based on these two, what can you conclude? What can you infer? I told you in RC, inference and conclusion are the same. Conclusion seems almost like a restatement of the main point, can go a little beyond an inference. So, which one of them? The moment you see two making sense, you know all of the above would be the right answer if more than two make sense. All right, so what's the answer for two? A, B, C, or D? It's too early to say that India reversed its vote and its earlier position on. India changed its vote. Okay, it's too early to see it as a reversal, but it has changed its vote. India changed its vote. If I say this, will all of the above work? India changed its vote and its earlier position on Gaza in the UNGA vote. Will this be correct? Yes. India has originally called for peace. It has originally called for peace. Yes. It may be too early to see what this means. So this is correct. Here, reversed, we should not have used the word. All of the above is correct if we change the word reverse, because it says you should not see its change of vote as a reversal. So we have to look, this word should have been India changed its vote and its earlier position on Gaza. Got it? So the answer will be D. All right. Question 3. What can be inferred about India's initial response to Israel's actions? Initial response. The present article talks about the vote where it changed, and it voted in favor of a resolution which asked Israel to stop all action. Pardon, how see? It may be too early to see India's vote as a reversal of its position and a reversion to its original position. So we do not know what was the main reason for the change. It changed its vote. It's it changed its vote, but he is saying the change of vote too early to say that it has reverted to its original position. Then why did it change its vote? Because the vote is exactly opposite of what its earlier position was. But the author is saying it's too early to say why it changed its vote. It's not. It may not be because that it has reversed its. It has gone back on its original position. So we don't know. It's too early for us to say that this change in vote is a reversion to its original position or a reversal of its earlier position. We don't know. That's why we are not certain what exactly this shift means. And the MEA hasn't told us in detail what it is. Clear? All right. Question 3. What can be inferred about India's initial response to Israel's action? Think of it. In the first time there was a resolution, what did India do? You had read in the passage. What did India do? Did it vote in favor of Israel? In favor of the resolution? See, resolution is against Israel, calling for Israel to stop bombardment, right? That was the resolution, calling for Israel to stop its bombardment of Gaza. Was India in favor of this resolution? Did it vote for the resolution? Did it vote against the resolution? Or what did it do? Give me the answer. What did India do the earlier time? Not now. What did India do the earlier time? What did the passage say about it? Let me see your answers quickly. What did India do? What was the word the author used? Whatever you remember. That's without going back to the passage. Shall I take you back to the passage? I need your answers quickly. Shall I take you back to the passage? Ah, India's previous vote. Okay, India had decided to abstain from voting for a resolution that called for a ceasefire. So, what was India's initial reaction? To abstain from voting. Abstain means not vote. Neither for nor against. I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm going to sit out of this vote. That is called abstaining, keeping away. So, what did India do? It had abstained from voting. Many of you gave A as an answer. Good, for a resolution. India wanted why did it abstain from voting? Not because it wanted the war to continue. It might have gone and told Israel in private. It might have. Narendra Modi immediately gave. First, they said that the act of terror against Israel, India has suffered a lot of terrorist attacks, so we offer our sympathies to the people and government of Israel. That was the first statement. Immediately after that, he said, however, we also believe that civilian casualties are not uh, there should be as little collateral damage. While Israel can take action, there should not be civilian damage or civilian collaterals. So we can't say India wanted the war. This is too extreme. India wanted a ceasefire without ruffling any feathers. Ye thoda ambiguous hai. It's exactly what it did. It didn't want to upset Israel because Israel said, look what Hamas has done to my people. And India sympathized with them, and India is a friend of Israel. At the same time, India didn't want, uh, it wanted a ceasefire, but it couldn't vote because ruffling any feathers refers to the Israelis. But this is too general. Okay, India was not under any compulsion. Only its strategic interests were to be taken into account, its national interest. India felt that it had to show its solidarity with the people of Israel, so it abstained from voting. It did not say this, it did not say that. But now the situation has changed, and therefore it changed its vote. Okay, we still don't know why it changed its vote. It hasn't told in detail why it changed, but the author has given likely reasons why the vote was changed. All right, next. Which of the following is not a reason for India's shift in stand? It has shifted its position by asking for a ceasefire. Correct? So, which one is not a reason? I've kept the options slightly ambiguous this time. You've already learned, so many weeks we've been doing passages, and many of you are the regulars, so you've gone through the drill of easy questions, direct questions. I will be adding, but every question here added a little bit of ambiguity, so you can answer. You have to think a bit. It's not very difficult, you just have to think. Was the high casualty figures in the war in Gaza a reason? The high number of deaths, people, journalists, was that a reason for India shift in that? इतने सारे लोग मर रहे हैं, was that a reason? Second, Israel has achieved its primary objective of freeing all hostages from Hamas. Is that a reason? Since it has achieved its objective, now let me ask for a ceasefire. Was that a reason? Global sympathy has shifted away from Israel. Is that a reason? Then that's not our answer. Whatever is not the reason, it should be our answer, because we want which of the following is not a reason. Or India was isolated in South Asia and the global south for its abstention from the vote. Which one is not a reason? I'll take you back to the line if you like to think about it. It said Israel has gone beyond its original mandate. What was its original mandate? To make Hamas powerless and to free all its hostages. It had moved beyond that objective now to flattening Gaza totally, right? So, and then there was a statement which said something. Do you remember that? Then what is the answer? Question 4, quickly. The reasons. The author has given 4 reasons, right? One, several reasons. One is casualty figures have risen. All right. Number two, Israeli defense forces have gone far beyond their original mandate. Their original mandate was eliminating Hamas capacity and freeing the hostages. What is their mandate now? What seems to be their objective? So they have changed. Israel seems to have changed its objective from eliminating Hamas's capacity and freeing the hostages to large scale flattening of Gaza and forced occupation. So Israel's objectives in the war have changed. That's the second reason. But there are still more than 100 Israeli hostages remaining in custody. So the reason India shifted its stand is not that Israel has freed all its hostages. It now seems to have lost interest in the hostages. It's gone from freeing hostages and eliminating Hamas, it's gone to the other objective of flattening Gaza and occupying territories in Gaza. And third, of course, is global opinion. And in that global opinion, India has faced flack from it was isolated in South Asia and the global south. So the reason uh, is therefore that B is not a reason. It has not achieved its primary objective. The reason is Israel seems to have changed its objective from A to B. What is that? Finish, totally wipe out all the inhabitants of Gaza, and that is the reason. All right. Okay. Question 5. What can be inferred about the meaning of cul-de-sac? I have told you it's a French term for a street where there is no way out. So what is the answer for 4? Let me quickly see the answers. What's the answer for 4? Cul-de-sac means a dead end, a stalemate. There is no way out of the situation. All right. So cul-de-sac is a dead end, option A. One sec. Why am I not able to see your answers? Let me just quickly go back and see. All right. Next, what is the synonym of indiscriminate? Tactless, aimless, planned, or strategic? Good. Cul-de-sac is a dead end. So even in a strategy, you read actual meaning as they used here is a stalemate. When you're putting yourself in a position where there's no way out. So a dead end is also okay. All right. What's the synonym of indiscriminate? Tactless, aimless, planned, or strategic? Question 6. What's the answer? Tactless, aimless, planned, or strategic? Indiscriminate, uh, the bombing that happened, the munitions, they said that that was indiscriminate bombing. So indiscriminate means aimless, random. It was not targeted only at Hamas. It was anywhere, everywhere, wherever you find a target, hit it. That was the problem. All right, good. Next, which of the following is not a synonym of credentials? Given India's credentials as Israel's friend, what is not a synonym of credentials? Qualification, capability, praise, or ability. What is not a synonym of credentials? Question 7. Quickly. Is it given India's credentials as Israel's friend? It has a role in effecting the ceasefire. It has this, that. Which one is not a synonym? Questionali. Not a synonym. It's not asking what is a synonym. So look at the 3 similar words in the options. Yes. Okay, no, no, no. It is praise. Credentials cannot be praise. qualification, capability, ability, any of these, but not praise. Okay. All right. All right. Can you give me a word? What is this war called? A war that is fought over a long period and only ends when one side. Today, I have all my vocabulary is all war related. Okay. A war that is fought over a long period and only ends when one side has neither the soldiers nor the equipment nor the determination to continue fighting. So keep the war on till one side gives up in every way. It's not capable of fighting anymore. Do you know what that is called? It's called a war of dash. What is that? Let me give you the option. Is it a war of nerves? Is it a war of attrition? Is it a war of price? Or is it a war of stamina? What kind of war is it called? 8. Question 8. What kind of war is it that's fought for a long... See, Iran and Iraq, 8 years. They fought. Okay, but it was not this kind of a war. Both sides came out with problems. Okay, but here one side gives up. Okay, because it doesn't have any more soldiers, resources, or determination. Where one, no, it is called a war of attrition. Okay, now if you win a war, okay, at a very heavy price, where at the end of it you say, what is the point? They say Mahabharata was like that. The victor was left feeling ki kya hua, I seem to have lost more. So when you fight a very very costly war where the victory is such that you feel you've lost as much as the person who's lost the war, that's called a pyrrhic victory. That victory at the end feels, is it really worth it? I've lost so much. Why did I fight the war? So, a war which proves too costly in every which way is called a pyrrhic victory, where you win, nevertheless. That's called a pyrrhic victory. All right. What is the name given to a war or a situation, or rather a situation? Okay. Often before a competition or a battle. Remember, this is a situation that happens before a competition or a battle in which each opposing side attempts to frighten or discourage the other by making threats or by showing how strong it is. The Australian cricket team, for example, that is called a war of what? Attempts to frighten or discourage by making threats. It is called what? What kind of war is that? Where you attempt to frighten or discourage the other party. What kind of war is that called? Question 9. Guess, doesn't matter. Sledging, war of sledging, war of nerves, war of games, war of words. What's it called? Where you attempt to frighten or discourage, where each opposing side attempts to frighten or discourage the other by making threats or showing how strong you are or one side is. What kind of war is that? Quickly. Question 9. What war is that? It's called a war of nerves. All right? Okay. Do you know when they say you are on the front lines? What is the meaning of the phrase on the front lines? You heard it during COVID. The doctors and nurses were called frontline warriors who were serving on the front lines. Serving on the front lines means being at the leading a war, being at the very first, you'll be the very first line of defense, you'll be the very first line of action. All right, being at the front end of things. Yes, it's called a war of nerves. All right, okay. No man's land. In war, you often or in any, when there are two countries, you often come across this expression, no man's land. What is no man's land? What is the no what territory or what area is called the no man's land? The empty region between two enemy regions, or the empty area between two enemy trenches. Here you'll have India, here you'll have Pakistan. There'll be certain area which belongs to neither. That's called no man's land. All right. Okay. If this is more an American usage, okay. I've got your back. I've got your six means what? Think of the clock. Okay. So you are here, you got your six means you are in a position of six for somebody. That means you're covering for somebody. I've got your back. I am looking after what's happening. I am looking over you. So you go ahead. I'm covering for you. That's called I've got your six. Be behind somebody normally to cover for them. All right. Okay. On the double. This was earlier an expression used only in the military, and later it came to be used everywhere. Do something on the double. Do something on the double. Twice as fast as you are doing now. So do something quickly. All right, that is do this on the double. Act fast. Double your speed. Do this on the double. Jaldi jaldi karo. All right. In RC, if you do things on the double, you make mistakes. All right. What is the meaning of this phrase? Bite the bullet. I'll wait for your answer. Bite the bullet. What does the expression bite the bullet mean? It's a longish answer. Type it. Doesn't matter. I'll wait for it. I haven't given options. What does bite the bullet mean? A, B, C, D instead of A, 1, 2, 3, 4. What does it mean? Eat a bullet, taste a bullet, shoot ahead of time, jump the gun, or tackle an unpleasant situation. What is the answer? What is the meaning of the phrase bite the bullet? You've heard it a lot of times. What does it mean? Question 14. Biting the bullet means tackling an unpleasant situation and be ready for the consequences, whatever it be. All right? Okay. All right. I hope you enjoyed the session. I will try to have a session with more conclusion and inference based questions, and maybe a quick class on idioms and phrases. A short editorial class, more idioms and phrases. All right. Uh, College predictor, if you've taken CAT with your percentile and with your profile, uh, check our college predictor to know from which IIMs you're likely to get a call. Get your score calculator and percentile predictor, and join any or all of our social media channels so that you get notification of all our classes. Our ZAT crash course, as you know, has started. Join it so that you attend all the classes and do well in that. All right. महाराष्ट्र सीईटी का शुरू हो जाएगा. No, OMET classes we have started. Other management entrance tests के लिए courses have started. Just talk to our counselor and get to know the dates. Maharashtra CET is there in May, right? April and May. April normally. Yeah. So we will be taking classes once SNAP and ZAT get done. Right now we busy with the ZAT CET, ZAT crash course. Once SNAP and ZAT are over, then all our attention will be on CMAT and Maharashtra CET. All right, we have a lot of mocks in our test series. 15 mocks we're giving for Maharashtra CET this year. So join the test series, join our OMET classes, and you'll get very good guidance on that. All right. So I will see you soon again. Tomorrow we have ZAT. I will be taking a class at 12 or 1. I'm not sure, the timings change between 12 and 1. Check out the timing on critical reasoning for ZAT. This will help you in all exams that have critical reasoning, even SNAP, which has verbal logic. So join that session, and then look at what other sessions we have. All right, tomorrow 12 or 1, I will be there again. Until then, bye bye.